130. His pupil in
सबसे पहले तो
सुनो
हाँ
एजुकेशन
आगे रुपया हाँ
वर्किंग में है ये और इम्तियाज
हाँ
हम प्रेस के अफसर से भी जाते हैं
ऐसा
चार करने पे किसकी जाने लगा तो चार वालों की पहली है
लेकिन सर्दियों में तो हीटर लगा देते गर्मियों में क्यों कूलर चला रहे अपने पास
हाँ सही बात है सर मैं आपको नहीं बढ़ जाएगा एक 10 हो गए
11-10
चाय पियो हाँ जी मैम।
पी लीजिए
ठीक
चाय।
है।
हाँ देखो, आप देखो।
आज बहुत दिन में ना।
हाँ बहुत दिन बाद, मैं भी बहुत दिन बाद आई।
तो
पीछे
हो
जब
जाना।
आई थी तो फिर उस समय पता चला था कि आपके एग्जाम चल रहे हैं।
तो हो जाना।
अच्छा, अब से जिस समय मैं नहीं आई होगी ना तब। Hello students, welcome to my live teaching learning session of MMPC3 Business Environment. In today's session, we will discuss about economic growth and economic development theories. First of all, what we have to understand the concept of economic growth and economic development. Then different economics gave the theories of economic growth. They given so many theories how to estimate economic growth and how economic growth can achieve and how economy can grow at a very faster rate. So in this block 1, unit 2, we will discuss about economic growth, economic development, the theories related to growth and development, and different concepts which is included in this unit. We all discuss the topics in this session. Now, first is economic growth and economic development. Here, economic growth and economic development both are not same concept, both are not similar concept. Economic growth is a concept which refers to increase in national income or per capita income continuously for the long time period. Economic growth means increase in output or increase in production. But economic development means both more output economic development is a broader concept. Economic growth has two indicators. One is increase in real national income and other is increase in per capita income. And economic development has three indicators. One is increase in real national income. Second is increase in per capita income. And third is increase in social welfare. So if three things increases continuously for the longer time period, then it will become the concept of economic development. So economic development includes economic growth as well as changes. And changes may be technological change, structural changes, and institutional changes. That's why we can say that economic development is a broader concept which includes both quantitative as well as qualitative aspects of the development. But economic growth includes only quantitative aspects of the economy, like increase in national income and increase in per capita income. So this is the basic definition of economic growth and economic development. Now next is economic development. You know that economic development is a policy intervention which aims of development like human capital. These are the factors which influence economic development. There are so many factors which can affect economic development because economic development is a broader concept, so it includes all the factors like economic factors and non-economic factors which affects economic development. So economic development is policy intervention with aims of development of human capital like human beings or manpower of the country. Literacy ratio should also increase. Then human capital will be formed because human capital include literacy, education and health. These two are the main components of human capital. And human capital can be formation, can be increased with the help of education and medical facilities. If government spend lots of money on education and medical facilities, then human capital will be more effective and human capital will be formatted and it will give more contribution in the process of economic growth and development. Second is infrastructure. Infrastructure should be also good because without good infrastructure, we can't produce goods and services. Companies will not encourage, entrepreneurs will not encourage to start their business enterprises. So infrastructure is also very important factor which affects economic development. Third is health and general welfare of the citizen. If medical facilities are good, country people are healthy, they are taking nutritious diet, and because we know that in a sound body, then sound mind can work. So sound mind, sound body, both are necessary for giving more contribution in GDP. So health and general welfare of the citizen also affects economic development. Whereas economic growth is a phenomena of market productivity and rise in GDP. It's a narrow concept. It includes only increase in national income and increase in per capita income, but not see the aftermaths or effects of the increase in national income and per capita income. So growth is related with generally developed countries, but development concept is related with developing countries. Growth includes only quantitative aspects, but development includes both quantitative as well as qualitative aspects. Now next is solo model. This is the first model of growth theory. Economic growth can be estimated by different economists in a different way. Some economists presented endogenous growth model and some economists gave exogenous growth model. In exogenous growth model, Solo model is very important. Solo model is presented by Robert Solow. Robert Solow is a great American economist who gave this growth model, and Solow received Nobel Prize in 1987 for presenting this growth model. Solow growth model mainly describe how economy can grow, how economy can achieve faster rate of economic growth. Solo model mainly presented that what factors influence the growth of the country and how these factors can affect positively to the growth of the country. We know that during Second World War time period, Germany and Japan faced a lots of problems. Their economy was nearly collapsed, but they achieved at present higher growth rate, and they are growing at a very faster rate instead of US growth and Britain growth. How it become possible? They have followed this growth model. So this solo growth model is mainly based on exogenous factors, and solo growth model presented the way of growth, how exogenous factors affects the economic growth of the country. This solo growth model based on some assumptions, and these assumptions are like solo model first of all assumed that full employment exists in the country. Full employment is a situation where all country people gets job opportunities. There is no place of unemployment. So if all country people get job opportunities, no one is unemployed, that is called full employment. So under solo model, Robert Solow assumed that in each and every country, full employment can be achieved very easily in a long run, not in a short run, but in a long run we can achieve full employment. Second assumption is that constant returns to scale law is applicable under production function. Production function has three stages. One is increasing return, second is constant return, third is diminishing return. Production function generally explain the technical relationship between input and output. We know that factors of production are four: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. And these factors of production contribute in the production of goods and services. When these factors give more production, then increasing returns to scale law will be applicable. When production is same as input, or if output is equals to input, then constant returns to scale law will be applicable. So in solo model, the assumption is that always constant returns to scale law is applicable. It means whatever input we are using for the production of goods and services, the output we will get in a same amount. There will be no difference between input and output. The ratio will remain same, and the output which we will get, it will become same as the ratio of input. It means if we use 10% input and if we get 10% output, that is called constant returns to scale. Next assumption is that capital accumulation is very necessary for economic growth. Without accumulation of capital, economic growth is not possible. And capital accumulation is further classified into two parts. One is capital widening and other is capital deepening. Capital widening and capital deepening. This is the two parts of capital accumulation. Capital widening, under this capital accumulation, it refers to the constant ratio of capital. But capital deepening under capital accumulation refers to growing ratio of capital. So this is the main thing which is necessary for achieving higher growth rate of the country. Capital accumulation is very necessary. And fourth assumption is that saving and investment affects positively in a growth model, but not in a only short run time period, not in a long run. It means that in a short run, if saving and investment rate increases, then economic growth will also increase. But in a long time period, higher saving and investment rate will not affect the economic growth. So Solo assumed that saving and investment give positive impact on economic growth only in a short run, not in a long run. So these are the basic assumptions of solo growth model. Solo growth model generally show the growth rate, how growth of the country can achieve. The analysis under solo model is that if there is a change in population, what will be the effect of increase in population on economic growth? If labor increases, then economic growth will increase or not? If capital increases or capital accumulated, then what will be the impact of increase in capital on economic growth? And if saving and investment rate increases, then what will be the impact on economic growth? So all these concepts which can influence the economic growth, all things are included under solo growth model. So in solo growth model, initially if population increases, then population will give positive impact in production level. Because if population increases, number of working force will also increase. And if population increases in a longer time period, it will not give much more effect on economic growth. So the main analysis under solo growth model is that permanent increase in legal immigration rate. In short run, increase in population growth is denoted by N. If other things remains constant, then lower growth rate of capital per worker and GDP per capita. It means in short run, if population increases and other things remains constant, it will lower the growth rate of capital per worker and GDP per capita. Growth rate remains lower during transition to steady state. Steady state is a situation where we will get higher output at lower cost. In long run, growth rate of capital and real GDP per worker fall to zero. But in steady state, higher population growth leads to lower steady state capital per worker and real GDP per capita, not changes in growth rate. It means if we have achieved steady state position, then if population increases, then higher increase in population growth will leads to lower steady state capital per worker and real GDP per worker per capita. And real growth will not change. So, population growth will not increase the economic growth. So, this is the impact of increase in population growth on economic growth. Now, next is the effect of population growth in the solo model. The country of US has just succeeded from the country to theme. The finance minister of US has asked to you to determine how the new country long-term economic growth will differ from themes. The economy of USS is almost exactly like the economy of other country. They share the same saving rate, the same depreciation rate. Their economies can be modeled with the same production function. The only difference between these two economies is that population growth. If population is growing at a faster rate, then it will lower the economic growth, and if population growth is less, then economy will grow at a faster rate. It means population growth will negatively impact on economic growth. We know that a specific increase in population growth will positively impact on the economic growth, but if population increases continuously and for the longer time period it increases, then it will give negative impact on economic growth, because population growth is a main obstacle for the achievement of higher growth rate of the country. In this diagram here, break even investment for two economies are given. First of all, we can draw production curve. Production curve or production function curve is always upward sloping curve. Start from the origin. In the beginning, production increases, then it will become maximum. At last, production start falling. So production function or TP curve start always from the origin. TP in the beginning increases, then it will become maximum. At last, it start falling. When TP increases, average production and measured production also increases. When TP become maximum, MP will become zero. When TP start falling, MP will become negative. So under solo model, it assumed that always constant returns to scale law will be applicable under production function. Now this is the diagram. Here this curve which is start from the origin, this is showing production function. This curve is showing production function, and next 45-degree line is showing increase in population growth and means population growth. And we can use this symbol as a depreciation. We know that depreciation always occur when we use technologies for the longer time period, as well as we use modern technologies, equipments. In the beginning, technologies will give you more output, more production, but after using these technologies, some wear and tear loss or maintenance expenditures, we have to spend money on the repair or maintenance expenditures on technical or modern technologies. This is known as depreciation cost. So increase in population growth and depreciation both are included in this equation. So this line will always be a 45-degree line, where production function curve and population growth plus depreciation and K represent capital, because depreciation occurs on capital investment. Where both curve intersect each other, this is the equilibrium point, and K star is the steady state of the solo growth model. This steady state represent that here the production and the depreciation and population growth, where both curve intersect each other, a country can achieve steady state of growth of the economy. Now next is the source of growth. What is the main source of growth? How growth can achieve and how growth can increase? Economy can grow at a faster rate. The effects of an improvement in the state of technology. You know that growth is affected by so many factors like technological advancement, technological improvement can also influence the economic growth. Increase in population growth also affects the economic growth, and increase in saving rate, increase in investment rate also affects the growth of the country. So any improvement in technology or the state of technology, if technological advancement is possible and if innovations or research on technological development happens, then technology shifts the production function up, leading to an increase in output per worker for a given level of capital per worker. So this is the diagram of which is representing that here if a technological advancement is possible, then production function curve will shift to the upward. Curve will go parallel and start from the origin. This is the initial production function curve, but this is the function of capital and number of workers, because we are taking here two main factors, one is labor and other is capital. And if technological advancement is possible, it means capital increases, then this curve will shift to the upward or parallel. So this is showing the source of growth. Technological improvement is really a source of growth. If in any country technological advancement is possible, then economy will grow at a very faster rate. Next is Harrod-Domar model. Harrod-Domar model is endogenous model, and AK model is also endogenous model. The AK model describes the mechanism by which more investment leads to more growth. According to Solo, if saving and investment rate increases in a short time period, then economy will grow. But if saving and investment increases for the longer time period, then in long run it will not give any effect on economic growth. But in Harrod-Domar model, more investment leads to more growth. Harrod-Domar pointed out that net addition in capital asset or in capital stock will definitely give positive impact on economic growth, and used to explain an economy's growth rate in terms of the level of saving and productivity of capital. In this model, mainly use two variables. One is saving and second is capital or investment. So saving level and investment level affects the economic growth. And these two variables and two main factors included under AK model or Harrod-Domar model. Now the component terms is like capital stock. Capital stock is presented by K. Output we can denote it by Y. Output is equals to GDP, gross domestic product. It is the sum total of all the final goods and services produced in a domestic territory in an accounting year. And capital output ratio can also be denoted by K, but this is small k, and capital stock is denoted by capital K, and the amount K by Y is the dollar capital output ratio. K upon Y is showing the ratio in between of capital and output. Because Y is output, K is capital. And delta K upon delta Y is showing change in capital due to change in income. And saving is presented by capital S, and saving ratio can be denoted by small s. So, under AK model, more investment leads to more growth. And the main terms which is used in this model, that is capital stock, output, saving ratio, capital output ratio, and output which is presented by Y or GDP. Next is endogenous growth models. Endogenous or exogenous. These two types of growth models are presented by different economists. So, solo growth model is based on exogenous growth model, but AK growth model, Harold Domer growth model, Lucas growth model is based on endogenous growth models. Endogenous growth models are different from the new classical growth models in that no assumptions of physical capital to be dominant determining factor in spurring economic growth. Other factors such as human capital is integrated. It dropped the assumption of diminishing return to reproducible factors of production. Third is technology is not assumed to be exogenous but rather endogenous. As such, in economic growth models, sustained growth is possible even without a change in the saving rate or an exogenous boost to technology. If saving rate not changes but exogenously technological advancement is possible, then economy can grow at a faster rate. Therefore, economic growth models are able to explain the sustained or even increasing income gap between developed countries and developing countries. According to the level of income, real national income, countries can be classified into three groups. One is higher income countries, second is middle income countries, and third is lower income countries. Higher income countries are those countries in which national income and per capita income is very higher. If national income and per capita income is moderate or medium, that is medium size or moderate or medium income countries. And low income countries are those countries in which national income and per capita income remains lower. So like US, Japan, Britain, Australia, Switzerland, Canada, their per capita income and national income is very higher. So they are fall in the category of high income grouped countries. But in those countries in which those who are developing nations that are falling medium income countries, and the backward countries are known as lower income countries. So economic growth models, either it may be endogenous or exogenous, they are able to explain the sustained or even increasing income gap between developed and developing countries. And they mainly take those factors which affects the economic growth. Now, AK model is sometimes termed as endogenous growth model. Endogenous represent internal factors and exogenous presented external factors. And both the factors, you know, that included in business environment. Business environment includes all the factors like micro factors and macroeconomic factors, economic factors, legal environment, political environment, technological environment, internal environment, external environment. All these factors influence the business environment. And you are studying this business environment paper in this MMPC 3. So, endogenous and exogenous growth, both the growth models, you must have to understand what is the basic difference between these growth models and how these growth models influence the economic growth and what way they suggested in their growth models how economy can achieve higher growth rate of the country. Now, AK model is sometimes termed as endogenous growth model. The model has that Y is output or income is equals to AK, where K is capital, can be thought as some composite capital and labor input. Clearly, this has constant marginal product of capital. MPK is marginal productivity of capital is equals to delta y upon delta k. Delta y is change in income due to change in capital is equals to A. So A represent the change in income due to change in capital and K is the marginal productivity of capital. So long run growth is possible with the help of capital advancement. Thus, the AK model is a simple way of illustrating endogenous growth concept. However, it is very simple. A is poorly defined yet critical to growth rate and also composite K is unappealing. But under this model, this factor which can influence the growth taken only capital. We know that factors of productions are four: land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. How can we say that only capital can play very important role for achievement of economic growth and other factors are not necessary? If you have more capital, you have more technical advancement, but you don't have human capital and you don't have natural resources, you don't have land area, how can you grow and how can you achieve higher productivity level? Other factors are also very important and other things also affects economic growth. Not only capital advancement can affect economic growth rate. So in this model, only capital advancement and capital productivity is taken for the achievement of economic growth. So that's why this model is criticized by some economists. Now next is the concept of purchasing power parity. What is the meaning of this purchasing power parity? Purchasing power parity means that the price of similar goods is the same regardless of which currency one uses to buy the goods. It means the price of similar goods is the same in each and every country without taking or regardless of whatever currency you are using to buy these products. Since goods or services in each country are priced in terms of their own currency. And we know that in each and every country, different currencies are used by their nation for transactions. For example, in India, rupees is mainly used for transaction. In US, dollar is used for transaction. In Japan, yen is used for transaction. In Russia, ruble is used for transaction, and in European countries, euro is they are using for transaction. So since goods or services in each country are priced in their own currency, so it is very difficult to make a clear comparison of the price of a given good or services in two different countries. So economics to use purchasing power parity or triple P concept to measure how much a currency can buy relative to other currencies. The purchasing power parity considers a bundle of goods and then calculates the price of this bundle in each country, in each country's own currency. Then it can be equate the value of the, the value or price of the product and it can explain how different countries' currency purchasing power can be equal. Next is, many of you have written to be this is the how what is the meaning of this purchasing power parity. This is the main question. How we can define this triple P concept, and how purchasing power parity can equate. Parity means equality. Purchasing power means uh, the ability to purchase of any commodity. So the purchasing power parity. This theory measures the purchasing power of one currency against another country's currency after taking into account their exchange rate. We know that uh, exchange rate is that rate at which one country's currency is converted into another country's currency. Like $1 is equals to, in terms of Indian currency, $1 is equals to near about 80 rupees. So, $1 purchasing power is equivalent to 80 rupees product. But Indian 1 rupee value is not equivalent to $1. India's, if we pay 80 rupees, then we can get $1 product. So taking into account their exchange rate simply means that you measures the strength of purchasing power on $1 with that of rupees 50 or 80, and not with rupees 1, assuming the exchange rate is a $1 is equals to 50 rupees, for example, but not at present. $1 is not equals to 50 rupees at present. $1 is equals to near about 80 rupees, and this rate can be changed according to the different time period. So develop this concept of PPP, purchasing power parity. This concept was developed by Gustav Cassel. In which year? 1918. The theory states that in ideally efficient markets, identical goods should have only one price. So, how goods can have one price? It can be possible if we can be able to measure the purchasing power of each countries in their own currency terms, then we can equate purchasing power parity. So this is the concept of purchasing power parity, which is given by Gustav Cassel in 1918. We can measure the uh, purchasing power of each and every country's currency in terms of their own country's currency for the bundle of goods or specific bundle of goods. Now next is concept of warranted rate of growth. Rate of growth can be denoted by GW. G is showing growth and W is warranted. You know that at present, when we buy any commodity, when we buy anything, then warranty, we get only warranty, not guarantee. So warranted growth rate, this warranted word means that there is a surety. So entrepreneurs take independent investment decision under this warranted rate of growth. All entrepreneurs can take independent decisions regarding investment, may or may not be satisfied with the present rate of growth. They wish for a desired or warranted rate of growth which satisfies them, and if these are satisfied, they will continue investment at the same rate in future. So warranted rate of growth can be calculated if saving is divided by YD, or saving is divided by investment or change in income, where YD is the desired capital output ratio. If saving is divided by capital output ratio, then we can get warranted growth rate. So warranted growth rate give the rate which we wish to achieve for the achievement of high growth rate. So every entrepreneur who who wish or desire for a warranted rate of growth, then it can be achieved with the help of this formula we can use for achieving this growth rate or measuring this growth rate. S divided by YD, or saving divided by capital output ratio. Next is natural rate of growth or GN. G is growth, N is natural. Natural growth rate can be achieved if will there be full employment also with steady state, because solo model assume that we can achieve steady state position and we can give full employment to all country people in a long run. Will there be full utilization of productive resources or productive capacity? So natural growth rate is equals to the sum of GL, growth rate of population, and GT, growth rate of technology. If technological growth and population growth both are added, then we can get natural rate of growth. So natural rate of growth is the maximum rate of growth of the economy, or the ceiling. Ceiling means maximum. The word ceiling presented that maximum rate of growth. So there are two types of growth rate. One is warranted growth rate, another is natural growth rate. Warranted growth rate can be calculated by saving divided by capital output ratio, but the natural growth rate can be estimated by adding growth rate of population in a long run and growth rate of technology or technical progress. If both are added, then we can get natural rate of growth, which is the maximum rate of growth of the economy or ceiling rate of growth. Now next is this vicious circle of poverty. These are the models of underdeveloped countries or less developed countries. You know, solo growth model, endogenous growth model, exogenous growth model, all are based on developed countries. But some economics gave the model which is related with developing countries or underdeveloped countries, that is vicious circle of poverty. And this vicious circle of poverty concept was given by Ragnar Nurse. Professor Ragnar Nurse gave balanced growth theory, and under this balanced growth theory, he explained the vicious circle of poverty. In economics, the cycle of poverty is a set of factors or events by which poverty, once started, is likely to continue unless there is outside intervention. The poverty cycle can be called development trap when it is applied to countries. We know that poverty is a curse, and according to Ragnar Nurse, a person is poor because he is basically poor. And if a country is poor, then it is basically a poor country. That's why countries are poor. It means poverty breeds itself. A person is poor because he is basically poor. A country is poor because it is poor. What is the meaning of this word? This word is saying that poverty breeds itself. And there are so many causes of poverty, like low productivity rate. If any country is facing low productivity rate, and if there is a low salary, low infrastructure, business failure, ignorance, illiteracy, lack of skills and technology, unhealthy atmosphere, diseases, widespread diseases, disasters, inability to access the resources such as land, finance, information, technical assistance, and no ongoing education. And if all these things present in a country, then country will be in the grip of poverty. And vicious circle of poverty can be explained with the help of this chart. This is a flow chart. This is a chart which is presenting that how a country can fall in the grip of poverty. If there is a low economic growth, first of all, if income is low, in the beginning, if income is low, low income will give the result of low level of education and healthcare. And if low level of education and low level of healthcare facilities, then it will give the result of low level of human capital. Low level of human capital will result in low productivity. Low productivity will result in again low income. And if there is a low income, then saving rate will also low, investment will also low, economic growth will low, and further income will become low. It means poverty trap. This is the poverty trap. How a country can always uh, reach in this situation of poverty trap if in any country income is low, then first of all, education and health facilities will be low, human capital will be low, productivity will be low, income will be low. And if income will be low, saving rate will be low, investment will be low, growth will be low, again, income level will be low. So, this is the vicious circle of poverty or poverty trap. Next is low productivity states that income will generate at a lesser rate. If income will generate low, then your purchasing power or ability to buy will also fall. It means low demand will happen. And if demand is low, production will be low, investment will be low, and capital will be deficient, and again productivity will be low. So vicious circle of poverty can be described in both aspects. One is demand aspect and second is supply aspects. If demand aspects, we show that if income is low, it means saving will be low. This is the supply aspect. If income will low, then saving capacity of a person will be low, and if saving is low, investment will be low. Investment, lower investment will leads to lower productivity. Lower productivity will leads to low employment. Low employment will again result in low income. So this is the supply side of vicious circle. And at the demand side, if income is low, then our demand will be low. If demand will be low, then production will be low. If production will be low, then investment will be low, and again income will be low. So this is the demand side uh, vicious circle of poverty. So vicious circle of poverty can be explained with the help of demand side aspect and supply side aspect. Demand side aspect will show at the point of consumer, and supply side aspect show at the point of supplier or seller. Now next is poverty cycle. If income is low, then low level of education and healthcare, low levels of human capital, low productivity, and again low income. And if income is low, then saving will be low, investment will be low, economic growth will be low, and further income will be low. So this is the poverty cycle. Next is critical minimum effort theory. According to Professor Harvey Levinstein, the overpopulated and underdeveloped countries are characterized by vicious circle of poverty. In order to achieve the transition from the state of backwardness to more developed state where we can expect steady secular growth, it is necessary, though not always sufficient condition, that at the same point of time or same period of time, the economy should receive a stimulus to growth that is necessary at a certain critical minimum size. So critical minimum effort theory was presented by Harvey Levinstein for underdeveloped countries, and how underdeveloped countries can overcome from the problem of this vicious circle of poverty. Next is Levinstein critical minimum effort theory says that in LDC is less developed countries or low developed countries, there is a vicious circle of poverty, and to break it, a critical minimum effort which is stimulus to growth in form of investment. Investment is a very good way to overcome this problem and to break this vicious circle of poverty. So there are shocks and stimulus. Shocks reduces growth while stimulants increases it. So, critical minimum stimulus should be more than shocks. Next is Nelson's low level equilibrium trap. This is presented by Nelson's low level equilibrium trap. What is this low level equilibrium trap? This is also the growth theory presented by Nelson for underdeveloped countries, that in underdeveloped countries there is a low level of services, low uses of services, low revenue level, low tax collection. All things when remains lower, then economy will fall in low equilibrium trap. So if there is a inadequate system of financing, inadequate system of using technologies, if there is a non-payment of taxes and poor willingness to pay the taxes, or if there is any legal constraint or inappropriate standard, then if there is a non-transparency or corruption or insufficient finance exist in the economy, then this will happen. So this is called low level of equilibrium trap. When all things which is necessary for economic growth, when all things remains lower, then they will not give contribution in the achievement of economic growth. Now next is the theory of the big push. This big push theory was given by Paul Rosenstein-Rodin. Big push theory mainly explains that if large-scale investment in several branches of industry would lead to a favorable synergistic interaction between these branches and across sectors. In less developed countries, it would have to come from a concerned and substantial big push from government to create effectively an entire industrial structure. More investment was needed, and in many places at one time, in order to shift the economy away from its low level equilibrium trap and towards rapid and sustainable growth. So, big push theory, which is also given by Paul Rosenstein-Rodin for underdeveloped countries, it means investment is very necessary for achieving high growth rate, and large scale investment give big push in several branches of industries, and it leads to favorable impact for the economic growth. Now next is national income. National income is also the most important concept under this economic growth model. National income is the sum total of all final goods and services produced in a year. It is the money value of flow of goods and services which is available during an accounting year. National income is very important to calculate because national income guides him to finance minister to proper and right decisions in regard to taxation and budget. It is very useful to compare the prosperity of a country with different nations. It provides an instrument of economic planning, and it indicates the trends of inflation and deflation. Proper corrective actions can be taken against them. So national income play very important role. Now next is how national income can be measured. National income can be estimated by three ways. One is output method, second is income method, third is expenditure method. The method of estimating national income of a country depends upon the availability of proper statistics. This can be viewed from three interrelated angles, such as in terms of production, in terms of income, in terms of expenditure. So these three terms are broadly related to GNP, GNI, GNE. So GNP is gross national product, which is estimated by product method. GNI, under this gross national income, it is estimated by income method, and GNE, gross national expenditure, it is estimated by expenditure method. Now national income accounting, these are the three methods: value added, income method, and expenditure. Value added method measures the value added. Value added means if we take value of output minus intermediate consumption, then we will get the value of final goods and services. And final goods and services are included in the estimation of national income because it avoids the double counting problem. So value added method measures the value added by each producing enterprises in the production process in the domestic territory in an accounting year. And concepts of national income are different concepts or aggregates are so many concepts which is related with national income, that is GDP. G represent gross, D domestic, P product, gross national product, net domestic product at market price, net domestic product at factor cost, FC is factor cost, MP is market price, NNP is national product at market price, and NNP FC is net national product at factor cost. Then private income, personal income, disposable income, national disposable income, these are the aggregates of national income. Now next is GDP deflator. What is GDP deflator? GDP deflator is a price index which can be estimated by taking the ratio in between of nominal GDP and real GDP. So if nominal GDP is divided by real GDP multiplied by 100, then we can get GDP deflator. GDP deflator is a ratio of nominal and real. Nominal divided by real multiplied by 100. Nominal GDP is that GDP which is estimated on the basis of current year prices. But real GDP is that GDP which is estimated on the basis of base year prices or constant year prices. And inflation rate is the percentage increase in the overall level of prices. Now next is GDP inflation rate. If GDP deflator year 2 minus GDP deflator year 1 upon divided by GDP deflator year 1 into 100, then we can estimate GDP inflation rate. Now we can conclude from the today's session that economic growth and economic development both are very important for an economy to sustain and improve quality of life of its people. Economic growth results rise in real GNP and NNP, whereas economic development results in reduced poverty, unemployment, restricted population growth, and increase in literacy rate and capital formation. So in today's session, we have discussed different growth models for developed countries as well as for developing countries and different concepts which is related with economic growth. So next session, we will discuss other topics. Thank you.